Most cars on the road could use a little TLC. At Maaco, they bring your car back to life with affordable paint jobs, light collision repairs. Get a free estimate today. Better get Maaco. Stat of the day is always brought to you by Panini America, the official trading cards of the program. We'll hear from Seton on the road to New Orleans with the French kid. He'll join us coming up here next hour. We make way for Vincent Goodwill, one of our favorites covering the NBA, Yahoo Sports senior NBA writer, host of the Good Word podcast. Great to have you on again. Not sure how you reacted to Commissioner Silver saying an idea that he liked, not that he's pushing for it, not that it's going to happen next season. 10-minute quarters, 40-minute games. Your thoughts?
Dan, people come on your show and all of a sudden you ask crazy questions, you get crazy answers, and all of a sudden you get aggregated because the commissioner comes on your show and behaves like he's not the commissioner, but like he's a fan that's watching the game and saying, these damn games are too long. I can't stay awake all for 2.5 hours. How about this? Here's a radical idea, Commissioner Silver and Commissioner Dan Patrick. How about we eliminate these reviews? When I'm at an arena and these reviews take 15 minutes, I'm exaggerating slightly, for something that we can all see, I know we want to get calls right. I know we have all these different angles, and if it touched the fingertip of someone's finger when it went off of the other guy's hand, like that type of thing. There's ways you can expedite the process of the game without messing with the structural integrity and history of the game. Dan, you know me, I live in the crates. We don't have to shorten this. And how about we stop telling people that something is wrong with the game? If you're telling people something is wrong with the game, then people will start believing that something is wrong with the game.
But his goal is international global domination, where you play this in the Olympics and you play this in the EuroLeague. Probably 7 of your top 10 players are from Europe or outside the United States. So maybe looking at uniformity there. And look, I'm not for it or against it, but I'm open to it.
Dan?
That's the difference. I'm open to it.
Dan?
Vincent?
Why do those foreign players play in the NBA and not in the EuroLeagues?
Because they make more money over here.
Okay, so if this is the standard, then you set the standard here. You don't follow the standard. I believe it was the wise philosopher J.J. Redick who said that last night, and I've never said those words in concert. Wise philosopher J.J. Redick.
Hey, but Steve Kerr said you gotta open your mind. You gotta be open-minded to this.
Why is it always the NBA that has to make these radical changes? Like baseball is 9 innings. The NFL is 60 minutes.
Baseball did a pitch count, a clock. Oh, my God, people went crazy. They made the bases larger. People went crazy. The kickoffs in the NFL, people went crazy.
Is it still 27 outs, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paulie, would you check? Is it still 27?
Checking.
It is. Yeah, 27 outs. Okay.
I'm just curious. Is it still 27 outs? And my thing is with the NBA as a whole, there's always this appearance that something is wrong and it has to be fixed. There's tweaks that you make. There's ways to get ahead. They're behind on this 3-point stuff, right? Dan, they are severely behind on all this 3-point stuff. But when you talk about the history, the integrity of the game, I know I'm an old young person, but I don't have a problem with the game being 48 minutes. How about this, Dan? Here's a novel concept. If the game starts at 7:30, how about the game actually starts at 7:30 and not 7:45? That'll cut off some time for TV. This is not that hard.
Was that your Chris Rock impersonation?
It a little bit.
It kind of sounded like that. Why don't you start it at 7:30? Okay, do you have a tweak for the 3-point line?
2 things that I would entertain, one a little more serious than others.
Okay.
The corner 3 is such a shot that everybody aims towards, right? Because it's so much shorter than the other 3-point line. Can we make the line across the way? Can we widen the floor? Which we know we won't do because you got to sell those expensive tickets. So if you're not going to widen the floor, eliminate the corner 3, or Dan, the best idea for me, how about we allow the hand check on the perimeter? That way you don't give up the easy switches where you have bigs running out at guards that compromises the integrity of your defense and you give defenses a chance. It's not so much that the 3-point shot is taken in abundance. It's that it's the easier shot to take because defenses don't get a chance to run at you. If they do run at you, you wind up getting flagrant fouls or something like that because you contest the jump shot. You're not giving defenses a chance. So if you give someone a little arm bar, maybe they'll be more likely to explore the other real estate. There's some good real estate in the middle of the floor. No matter what the nerds tell you, a 16-foot shot is far easier than a 20-foot shot. But if you notice too, Dan, dudes are not taught to shoot that. So when they get in the 16-foot range, they throw up these crappy floaters as opposed to shooting an actual jump shot. If the game is broken, the game is broken in the way that it's being taught, not the way that it's being played at this level.
Vincent Goodwill, Yahoo Sports senior NBA writer, host of the Good Word podcast. I've said for years we need to widen the floor a little bit because the corner three, what you talked about. How about we limit the number, we cap the number of threes your team can take at 25. Therefore, the people you want to take the three, the better shooters will take the threes. And now it becomes a little bit more of an economical game of when do you take those threes and when do you not?
My problem with that, Dan, is if a player gets on a heater, right? If Stephen Curry is on a heater,
then he can take 25.
Theoretically, right? But I don't want the that'd be like the NFL saying you can only throw 40 passes a game because you got to run the ball 30 times. Like there has to be good decision making in this, not saying you can only do this a certain amount of time. If you want to be stupid and take 53s a game, go ahead and be stupid. I'm not going to prevent you from your stupidity. It's just the league. What the league's problem is on this front, Dan, is the league's job. They assume that structurally and from an entertainment standpoint, that the executives and the coaches and the analytics people are looking out for the best interests of the game and how it looks aesthetically. That's the league's job. Those other people, they're looking for ways to cheat the system. Like, Dan, when I was in college and I was, broke college student, I was looking for ways to sneak inside the cafeteria when nobody was watching. That's on me to try to beat the system. It's on you to fix the system.
Okay, let's get to those players. Give me the biggest snub, and if you give me a name, who are you taking off the roster? Because that's the way it works. Although most people just say somebody got snubbed, who are you taking off, Vincent?
I'm with you. I hate the people who say, "Oh, such and such got snubbed," and then we get an all-star team with 20 guys, right?
Yeah.
I will say that I won't say if Domantas Sabonis and Sacramento got snubbed, but to me, that's the guy that I'm looking at. And I'm like, yeah, I can see why he has a strong case. Leading the league in rebounding. The Kings are above 500. They've been a winning team as of late since the firing of Mike Brown. But I'm not taking off Alperen Şengün. I'm not putting Trae Young on the All-Star team. Like, I'm not putting LaMelo Ball on the All-Star team. If this were, I will say this, Dan, if this were an actual All-Star game, with great defense, and you're going to need some creativity, somebody that's going to do something wild and crazy to shake it up, give me LaMelo Ball, give me Trae Young. But as far as how they've played, their effect on winning, what the numbers say beyond the raw statistics, I think by and large, the coaches got it right.
Yeah, I would take James Harden off.
I'm not going to necessarily argue with that.
Sabonis.
I think he's had a really good year in LA for a team that we didn't expect much from.
Yeah, Sacramento with Sabonis. I mean, it's hard to argue those numbers. I mean, he gets overshadowed by Jokic when it comes to points and rebounds and assists. Well, nobody compares to him, but James Harden. I mean,
I don't think this is a great James Harden year by James Harden standards. We're talking about arguably maybe one of the top 5 or 6 shooting guards in league history. Right. You know what I mean? Like when you zoom out and you look at what he's done, the effect on the game, not necessarily aesthetically and what he's accomplished from a team standpoint, but when he's done, you're going to look and say, man, James Harden was really good. It's just, I think this Clippers team has been much better than people expected. There was a case for Norm Powell on that very team who's leading the team in scoring. So I'm not going to argue with you on that one, Dan. I know we come and spar a little bit. I don't really have an argument if you say James Harden off and Domantas Sabonis on. That might be the only one, but I'm not going to the wall for it.
Okay, give me somebody who's moved at the trade deadline that we care about.
Man, look, we all know that Jimmy Butler and this Miami Heat thing is going to, Pat. All that's left for Pat Riley to do is to kiss Jimmy and say, "You broke my heart," and put him on a plane to Havana or something like that. Like that's all that's left.
Little Godfather too there. Okay,
right.
All right.
I think that's all that's left essentially for
so Butler's
Jimmy Butler.
moved.
He has to be, Dan. If there's a question to ask Adam Silver, it is, are you comfortable with these standoffs between players and teams, legacy players and legacy franchises that gum up the attention of the season? So yeah, Jimmy Butler should be gone. And Pat Riley and the Miami Heat, I wrote about it. I know people don't like hearing about it and saying about it. They are just as culpable as Jimmy Butler's activity is for this situation. They should have moved him the second they told him, we're not going to give you an extension. That's the way it goes in the NBA. If your star player does not feel appreciated, he wants an extension, you're not going to give it to him, no matter how much you're paying him. You trade him to prevent something like this, because if nothing else, we know Jimmy Butler's movies. He's go you know the GIF. You're probably online, Dan. There's like someone on a swing and there's a building burning behind them.
We're going to have to wait for that movie scenario. I'm running out of time, Vincent. Vincent Goodwill, Yahoo Sports. Final hour coming up.